Hello everyone, good morning. We have started this lesson structuralism and we have read that it was a movement which started from France, and its meaning is construction. It has two type of structure. One is surface structure and deep structure. Both are interconnected, and it has three characteristics: wholeness and transformation and self-regulation. And we also uh, came to know that it was anticipated by T.S. Eliot in the traditional individual talent. Then uh, we came to know the major exponents of structuralism. So Roman Jakobson, Jonathan Keller, Michael Raffater, Claudio Gulen, Gerard Prince, Robert Scholes, and C.S. Peirce, Karl Morris, Noam Chomsky. These were the main exponent of structuralism. After that, let's start. The influence of structuralism was anticipated in the works of Canadian Northrop Frye, who was the most influential theorist of myth criticism of America. His literary system is different from Eliot's. To him, literature worked by certain laws, and these laws were the various modes, archetypes, myths, genre, by which all literary works were structured. Northrop Frye was actually doing his research on the myth. So on myth, his idea was that all the myths are interrelated and interconnected. To establish his system, he believed that he must clear the value judgment of history other than literary history and cognitive philosophy. Value judgments are only subjective noises. General history was extraneous, and cognitive philosophy spoke of reality beyond the literary world. Cognitive philosophy, what is cognitive philosophy? Cognitive philosophy means reality. Cognitive philosophy, reality which we experience by ourselves outside of literature. Means literature gives us reality, but that is not true reality, because literature is based on imagination, and whatever we ourselves experience, that is called cognitive reality or cognitive philosophy. He insisted that literature is an autonomous verbal structure quite cut off from any reference beyond itself. So he said that it is actually a verbal structure and not writing structure. Actually, writing structure came later. Originally it was a verbal structure. It means originally we understand things, we get the meaning through verbal. That is, he thinks that that structure is the true structure, real structure, and more authentic structure. Literature is not a way of knowing reality, but a kind of collective utopian dreaming which has gone throughout history. So he says that literature is not a way of knowing reality, because through literature we cannot know the reality, because literature is based on imagination. But what we do, we go a collective utopian dreaming. Utopian dreaming means imaginary dreaming. We just think that this should happen, and we as we wish, we can do changes in the literature. So many times in the history, whatever wrong has been done, we manipulate history and write literature. His theory finds in literature a substitute history. So he sees a substitute history in his theory. Substitute history means a different type of history for all the global span and collective structures of history itself. The modes and myths of literature are transcortial. In 1971, Fry published The Critical Path, wherein he contrasts conservative myths of concern with liberal myths of freedom and desires an equable balance between the two. His structuralism is contemporaneous significant with the classical structuralism of Europe. He viewed the creation of myth as integral of human thought and believed that literature emerges out of a care of myth, where myth is understood as a collective attempt on the part of various cultures and groups to establish a meaningful context for human existence. So, his belief was that literature actually originated from myth, and myth, if we understand myth, we can easily understand literature. Just like all myths are interconnected, in the same way literature, all literature is interconnected and based on one another. And because myth also is a part of various cultures and various groups and various civilizations, and it also tells the meaning to human existence. So he thinks that myth is more important to understand the meaning in the literature. Myth of summer, spring, autumn, winter gave rise to fundamental literary modes such as comedy, tragedy, irony, romance. He says that there are myths of summer, spring, autumn, winter. So summer season is a symbol of comedy, and winter season is a symbol of tragedy. Spring season is symbol of romance, and autumn season is symbol of irony. In this way, he tried to make us understand that all the seasons are also symbolic, and in myths they have been explained in the same way, just like later literature. In literature we find these symbolic elements. His static model exhibiting recurrent pattern is a feature shared by a structuralist view of language and literature. Northrop Frye questioned the new criticism's concept of autonomy of a work of art. He stressed of stylistics, a way of structuralism which came into vogue during the late 60s. He questioned the theory laid down by new critics. New critics like T.S. Eliot, like R.S. Crane, like I.A. Richards, like F.I.R. Lewis. There's many formalist critics. He questioned the theory laid down by new critics. This turn gave rise to post-structuralism. And when he also questioned structuralism, and this gave rise to post-structuralism. Frye asserted that every work in art has its archetype. He said that every work in art has its archetype. Archetype means a kind of outline, means which covers everything. Structuralism emphasizes the concept that meaning was a product of certain shared system of signification. He said that we get meaning from many shared system of signification. Shared system of signification means there are many systems which work, and because of those systems we get the meaning of any particular word or thing. Rationalist believed that there is a natural bond between word and thing. The rationalist means those in 1910 and 20, those rationalist, formalist and new critics, they were thinking that there is a natural bond between word and thing, but strictly asserted that the relationship between sign and referent were arbitrary. But structuralists were saying that there is no relationship between word and thing. Word, suppose I say house and the building house, there is no relationship between the word house and the building house. Actually it had been only connected, artificially connected. So the structuralists were very different from rationalist, formalist and new critics. Structuralism is the belief that the individual units of any system have meaning only by virtue of their relations to one another. Yes, structuralists I believe that we get meaning because we have interrelated those things. Without relation, there is no meaning. If we want to get the meaning, we must go into the relation. We must know the structure working behind that. This does not follow by virtue of the relation to one another. Means generally it is not related, but we relate it artificially. We relate it. For example, just like when we teach to small kid, means children, when we teach 3 year, 2.5 year, 4 year children, what we do, we teach them saying A for apple. So A for apple, we know that A may signify many things. A means not only apple, but we teach this A for apple. So this is means A signifies apple for that kid, and there may be many. So structuralist may say the same thing, that word and thing are not related. One word may signify many things, and there is no connection, there is no relationship, only it has been connected artificially, just like we have connected A for apple. In formalism, characters and events can be replaced without changing the structure. For the psychoanalytic critic, character and content are reported. To the structuralist, the relationship between one of parallelism, opposition, inversion, balance, equivalence, and so on. So, in formalism, character is important. In psychoanalytic, content is important. For structuralist, parallelism, opposition, inversion, balance, equivalence, these things are important. Means in structuralism, one structuralist sees parallelism, means parallel, means similar words. Opposition means opposite words. Just like if there is a word day, he will try to know what is the meaning of night, because you cannot get the meaning. Suppose I say poor, how will you understand poor if you are not knowing about rich? You will understand poor because you are knowing the meaning of rich. That's why if I say boy, so boy has no identity if there is no girl. Means we understand the meaning in opposition. Opposition, day, night, mother, father, husband, wife. Right? In opposition, good, evil, good, bad. In this opposition, inversion, balance, equivalence. In this way we get the meaning. One can, if one so desires, replace item provided the structure is not upset. And you can replace one item and place another item if the structure is not being upset and meaning remains the same. It means suppose there is a word bad. So if you want to remove that word bad from the context of a sentence, you need to just remove bad and place evil there, and I think meaning will not be changed. Meaning will remain intact there, and structure also will not be upset. So structuralism says this, that there is a broad structure, and through that structure we get the meaning. The structuralist is not least bothered by the quality of the work. Yeah, this is the most important thing. The structuralists are not dealing with the quality of work, whether he has written a good story or not, whether his style was good or not, whether he used more figure of speech or not. He is not bothered about all those things. Structuralists, they are bothered about the meaning, how we get meaning, how we get a meaning from the structure, from the strings of words, how we understand a text, how we know that a house is a house and a farm is a farm, a mine is a mine, and a woman is a woman. How we understand this? How we know that uh, means how we understand things. Just actually go deep into the structure and try to understand how we understand the meaning and which structure works behind that. It may be high or low. It ignores surface meanings and goes searching for deep structure. Yes, it ignores surface meanings and it goes into the deep structures. The content of the text may be its structure. It may have its own internal relation. It really takes its inspiration from linguistics. Yes, strictly they take inspiration from linguistics because language is based on grammar and grammar itself is based on structure. There are so many structures. That's why they took inspiration from linguistics. Language is a system of signs, but sign acquire meaning only within the total structure. So language is uh, when means I am talking about here writing a written language. So it is based on signs. Sign. Sign means a kind of image which we draw by our pen. That is called sign. So and we make a particular type of sign, and that sign gives meaning. How that sign gives meaning? Suppose I write a alphabet a. So uh, a is a kind of sign, means just there are three lines which make this sign. And what is the meaning of this sign? How we get the meaning of this? In order to get the meaning, we can get the meaning only into a broad structure. We cannot get the meaning of Hindi word abasa into the structure of uh, English. It means we have meaning of one letter into that structure. There is a structure, and that structure is also man-made, means artificial, but we get meaning out of that. Within its system of rules and conventions, the critic begins by analyzing these conventions and regulations before investigating how the artist has organized his material. I.A. Richards placed readers at the forefront and has rights to create his own text. I.A. Richards was very famous 20th century uh, critic who has written political criticism. Uh, very important critic, and he said that readers are more important than the writer. He thought linguistics would help criticism, but it has swamped criticism. He says that linguistics should help criticism, but what has happened that it has swamped the whole criticism. Swamped means swallowed. It has eaten the whole criticism. Linguistics, which should help criticism, but it actually has eaten the whole criticism, and a new type of criticism came in the form of structuralism. Reading has become a game. He said that reading has become a game. Thus, a movement we started as a counter to vague and laudatory criticism has gone beyond the bounds of common sense and reason. Laudatory criticism means appreciative criticism. When suppose Milton has written something, so critic used to laud him, means appreciate him, praise him too much, because Milton was a great name. But such type of laudatory criticism has gone. Now anyone, means whether writer has big name or not, it does not matter. They generally write the true merit of the work. To develop a structuralist approach, one should take linguistics as a model. An utterance is a string of sounds which has meaning for the speaker and the listener. Yes, he said that utterance is a string of one. When we speak something, that is just a sound. We from our throat produce a kind of sound, and that particular type of sound is produced by the speaker uh, has meaning for the listener. Means listener understands the pattern of those sounds. Very skills have had to play. How other person understands that sound which was produced by the speaker, because listener is knowing the structure, he understanding the structure, he is knowing the which sign which indicate which signifier, he is knowing this. That's why means various skills have had to play. In this way communication becomes possible. The phonological and phonemic systems of the language, the grammatical systematical system. So now here I.A. Richards is telling that there are many systems which play when communication becomes possible. Phonological and phonemic system, grammatical and systematic system, and semantic component of the language. A knowledge of these is necessary for both the speaker and the listener. The phonological, syntactical, and semantic properties of sentence, so are all equally important. So we can see that phonological, syntactical, and semantic. These three properties are means these three are the characteristic of a sentence, and without the knowledge of it, communication is not possible. Everyone who understands the language of others is aware of these three properties of sentence: phonological, syntactical, and semantic. Semantic means a kind of cultural setup, syntactical means grammar setup, phonological means voice adulation, means sound system, grammar system, and cultural system. These three systems everyone is knowing, because without the knowledge of these three systems no one will be able to understand the language of anyone. Means when if you are understanding the language of someone, it means you are knowing these three structures. One who knows the English language but is totally ignorant of literature will be baffled by an English poem. He says that suppose you are knowing English language but you have never read any English poem. Suddenly if you read English poem, you will be baffled, you will be surprised, you will be shocked to see, because you will find that poem is full of lies, since he is not familiar with convention. Why he will be baffled? He will be baffled because he is not familiar with the system of literature. We understand literature because we are knowing the system of literature, how literature works, how literature is being written. What is needed is a structuralist poetics that would give us the ability to read and understand literary works. So he advocates that there should be a literary poetics. Literary poetics means a poetics which will train everyone how to read literature, because that poetics will give the knowledge of structures, how literature works and how literature is being written, how we can understand literature, how we can release structures of literature. The new critics insisted that the meaning was within the text for anyone to see. New critics used to say, I. Richards was also a member of New Critics. So New Critics said that meaning is in the text, not outside the text. The text was an entirely complete organism with a life of its own. They were saying that text is a complete thing. We need not to go into the details of writer. So a critic approaches the text without any preconceptions. On the contrary, structuralists want to think of a poem not as a self-contained entity, but as something that has meaning only in the relation to a literary systems. So new critics don't want to go into the structures of the any text, but strictly say that any piece of literature has not its separate entity, separate identity. If you want to understand the meaning of a text, we must go into the different structures, the three structures, phonological structures, semantic structures. So he said that we must go into the structure, we must see that what is the relation of that piece of literature with other literature, with means other similar type of literature or other opposite type of literature, means other parallel, we will see in parallel or in uh, oppositions, in oppositions. A set of recognized conventions, then we will set a set of recognized conventions. Convention means a kind of structure. Suppose we are reading about sonnet. How will we understand the sonnet with the, if we are not knowing the structure of sonnet? So first thing we must know the structure of sonnet. How will we know structure of sonnet? We will go into the grammar of poetry, means poetry, then there are many genres. In genres we will get sonnet, then in sonnet we will see types of sonnet, and in the type of sonnet we will know the complete structure of the sonnet. And in detail, if you go into the deep, you will also get the how those structures came into being. Now when we are reading a sonnet, we will try to know it in the context of other sonnets, means we will what we will do parallelism. Second thing we will do that, we will do opposition. Opposition means we will try to contrast with other type of sonnets or other types of lyric poetry. So we will go into the recognized convention. Even our idea of poem as an entity in itself is a result of our being trained to think along with those lines, a training imparted to both writer and reader. The writer follows certain recognized conventions, even if he is a rebel against conventions and traditions. So writer follows all the given systems, conventions, traditions. Whether he is against the convention, it does not matter, but he has to follow the conventions, because conventions gives meaning. That's why. Otherwise, without convention, if anyone will write, it will be meaningless. Many may not like this notion that literature has a system. Schools and universities offer to give literary training. The study of one text teaches you how to study the next. Yes, when we read one piece of literature, suppose we read a sonnet. So after reading a sonnet, we know the structure of the sonnet, and now we are ready to understand the second sonnet, third sonnet, fourth sonnet, and easily we will get the meaning, because now we are knowing the structure of the sonnet. Once we have written, once we have gone through the tragedy of any writer of 16th century, we know the pattern of tragedy. Then easily any tragedy at that time we will be able to understand. So means there is a kind of training. We get a training by reading, and many universities they provide such kind of training to read the literature. Learn principles of reading. We extrapolate from one work to another. It implies that there is a comprehensive theory of literature which we have internationalized. I will along obstacles. Critics make the mistake of thinking that they should have even be producing new interpretation of literary works. Many critics are of the view that critics should provide new interpretations of literary works. Critics are interested in understanding literary works rather than in investigating the critical and literary principles involved. Critics generally are interested in understanding the text. They do not want to go deep into the structure and do investigation work, how the this work came into being and what kind of structures were working behind it. Discussion by individual works does not constitute the study of literature through critics want to believe it. Antidote to this obstacle is to grant a poetics its proper status at the center of literary study. So writers said that there should be a poetics. Poetics means a kind of rule books which will teach everyone the rule how to read a literature or a piece of literature. Some kinds of literary competencies is present in everyone who discusses or writes about literature. Then writers say that some kind of competency is present in everyone. If you have read literature, you are competent. Means now you are understanding literature. A structuralist approach starts by stretching the artificiality of literature. Literature usually artifices one of which is seen in the language of ordinary conversation. Yes, literature uses artificiality. So structuralist claims this. Structuralist says that literature is a kind of artificial thing. Means man-made thing. And language itself is an artificial thing. And what is the material of literature? Material of literature is language. So different that if one uses poetic diction for domestic purposes, it would sound artificial. Yes, suppose the language of poetry is different from the language of prose, and common communication language is different from writing language. Suppose when we write one application to the principal, we have a different type of language. Generally, that kind of language we never speak in our communication. So, and if we use that type of language in our day-to-day conversation, we will find, and people will laugh at us because it will be very artificial. The two kinds of language is follow different conventions. This artificiality or strangeness of language should not only be overcome, but also cherish something precious. Naturalizing a text means it involves performing a semantic transforming, as in case of metaphor. Naturalizing means when there is a new word, a new structure, a new sentence, we naturalize it. Why? How we naturalize it? We make it a one. Means we make it as original and as regular, and we become habitual of that structure, that sentence. Means that structure seems familiar to us. How that structure seems familiar to us? By naturalizing. Because we naturalizing that structure, that's why that structure becomes familiar to us. There are various conventions of achieving various levels of naturalization. It may depend on the mode. For example, satire, which has its own conventions, therefore satire which involves in naturalization. So convention therefore guide naturalization. The situation in Duns Good Morrow is a piece of fiction which should be recognized before we interpret the poem. The conventions give us codes of expectation. Barthes gives 5 codes of prose fiction. Barthes means Roland Barthes. Structuralism began in France 1950s. It was first seen in the work of Claude Lévi-Strauss. Claude Lévi-Strauss, who is Claude Lévi-Strauss and Roland Barthes. These two names you must have heard, because these two names are very important names. Claude Lévi-Strauss was very famous, and modern writer. He died recently in 2009. He was born in Belgium, and he was an anthropologist, ethnologist. He is also called as father of modern anthropology. and he gave this theory. He said that a savage mind had the same type of structures as the civilized mind has. He wrote a book, The Elementary Structures of Kinship, which was reviewed by Simon de Beauvoir. That was a very important book. And he also debated with Jean-Paul Sartre on the topic of structure and culture. And Jean-Paul Sartre was an existentialist. Means when you will read the existential theory, then you will read about Jean-Paul Sartre. He was also very famous, and he was very much influenced by Roman Jakobson, because Roman Jakobson was his teacher, and he used to attend the classes of Roman Jakobson, and he tried to apply the theory propagated by Ferdinand de Saussure in the theory of anthropology. Means the theory of linguistics he want to apply in the theory of anthropology. So about Claude Lévi-Strauss, he wrote about mythology, about anthropology, about fashion, and he said that codes are arbitrary. He was very much influenced by Hegel. He believed that human mind thinks in fundamentally binary opposition, and he also presented a theory of human mind's working on unification of codes, antithesis, and so there are many things. And Roland Barthes was also a French literary theorist, philosopher, critic, semiotician, who wrote Death of Author, Degree Zero, Effect of Reality, Mythologies. He was also influenced by Saussure, Karl Marx, Lacan, Sartre, Nietzsche, Freud, Michelet, Lyotard, Valéry, so many writers. So for today's this is enough. We will continue this lesson tomorrow.